Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 23rd meeting of the Board of Selectmen. If you could join me in saying the pledge of allegiance, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we got a fun agenda tonight. We got some good news. We got some appointments, which will be nice in a few minutes. But first up, let's talk minutes of the regular meeting of November 9th. So moved. Actually, I'm going to take that as a motion. Do I have a second?
You do have a second on that. So was that a clear motion?
Yeah, sure.
So move that we.
I take back the just.
I think the intent was any discussion on it? All right. None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Next up, minutes of the special meeting. This is the pre-town meeting of November 15th.
Chair, I move to approve.
Motion. Do I have a second?
Second. I was again.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I'm going to take that as unanimous with Patsy abstaining. All right, we're doing well. We're actually ahead of schedule. You want to go down to new business for the part-time and LT records, or you want to wait?
We didn't do community announcement.
Unless you want to bring in
I'm gonna wait
the LT first, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so let's do community announcements, and then we will do, probably, actually, by then we might have the LT, so. Go ahead, Josh.
The town hall will be closed on Thursday, November 25th, for the Thanksgiving. Have a safe and happy holiday. Household hazardous waste and electronics collection, Saturday, December 4th, between 9 and 1 p.m. at Casella Waste Service Facility at 165 Barefoot Road in Southbridge, Massachusetts. See Board of Health for free household hazardous waste day voucher worth $30. You can always visit our town website for more information.
Thank you, Bosh. And that actually is something that normally, I think we have more vouchers than people who use them, so definitely take advantage of it. I know I will need to get rid of some oil from the house. I should say from my garage, et cetera, for lawnmowers and such. So anyway, take advantage of it. Now on a bit of good news, gentlemen. We have a very special appointment. And let me welcome Chief Dowd to make a formal introduction.
Good evening. Here with Sergeant Mason, my best sergeant in the department. This is a great opportunity for the town of Charlton. He's already got the respect, the confidence of the troops. I think this will be a very easy transition. This will be very easy as far as we move forward to make this appointment.
And Chief, what is the official appointment we're making for those watching?
Lieutenant.
Questions from the board before we introduce formally Lieutenant Mason?
Just a comment. I agree with Chief Dowd. This is, I think, great for the town. Sergeant, soon to be Lieutenant Mason, has been a fixture in this town for a very, very long time. We're extremely lucky to have him and his family.
So before we make the official appointment, anything you'd like to say?
No, it's a pleasure and honor to accept the position with lieutenant, as a lieutenant of the Charlton Police Department. I want to acknowledge, my family, friends, all the members of the Charlton PD, past and present, that made me accept the position as lieutenant, maybe as the person that I am.
Thanks, Sergeant. Well, this was a great honor. I would entertain a motion for the appointment to lieutenant.
So moved.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second that.
Any further discussion? So actually, soon to be lieutenant, I'm sure I speak for the entire board, would say we're all very proud of you, and we can't wait to see all the great things that you will continue to do. And please keep Dan out of trouble as best you can.
Everyone wants the pitch done, and everyone in the back can go woohoo.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is unanimous. Lieutenant, welcome to the club. Chief, I'm assuming you were helping with the honors?
Actually, Gary's wife is.
Much better choice. Drew, can you get this on TV?
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
All right, fine.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Mason family.
LT, be safe out there. Thanks, chief.
Chief, don't go too far.
Yeah, chief, don't go too far. We got you up next.
Thought you were getting off easy. Thought I was.
Actually, as people leave, it always is nice when we can do nice things between dog hearings and all the other things we have to deal with. It is nice when we can promote from within, when we can congratulate and honor someone who works so hard. So, I mean, honestly, this is great. I'm really happy for Barry. And as well as you two. Bill.
Yeah, he's just a great guy.
All right, next up. Talk to me, Andy.
All right, I'll do the special police appointment. So Chief Dowd is asking the board to appoint John J. Mulvey as a special police officer. Mr. Mulvey is a recently retired LT with the Mass State Police and was a Worcester police officer before joining the state police. Feels that Mr. Mulvey will be a great asset to our department due to his retired status, shall have a tremendous availability to fill jobs as he's having difficulty filling. I recommend the board make the appointment.
So moved.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Please.
Just for the benefit of those watching, if we can ask the chief to just briefly tell the public what a special is, so that they understand what this is, what this appointment is for.
So in John's situation, he's unique because he has at least 2 full-time academies. So in a situation where we needed actually to bring somebody in, say there was an event and everybody wanted to attend, I could bring him in and put him on duty, as well as doing details. So that helps out tremendously. Some people just qualify for the details, but they don't fill that extra spot of being able to fill in on a
And
shift.
he could do both.
He could do both, sir.
Okay, that's great. Further questions for the chief? Hearing none, I have a motion. I think who was my second? Thank you, Patsy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thanks, chief. You know what? While we have the chief here, can we skip down to new business because we're about 5 minutes ahead of schedule? Chief, this is for the part-time public records assistant for your folks. Andrew, you want to give me the 30-second overview before we turn it over to Chief?
Yeah, so Chief is asking that the board approve a part-time 8-hour per week public records assistant to the police department. The police received numerous requests for public records, and currently the court officer is the public records officer on top of the duties for the position. He sees the needs for assistance to allow the court officer time to fulfill the duties of that position. Currently, the money is within the budget, and I'd recommend the board approve the request pending a search for a person for that position.
So for those at home, this is necessarily net new money. It's all done within the existing budget. It's just basically a reallocation to try to take some of the stress away from the existing staff.
So moved.
And the motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Patsy. Any other discussion or questions for the chief?
Just for the people at home and for myself, how have you done it in the past? Has it, you officers would be taken off the street?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what happens a lot of times, but there's a lot of people, everybody wants their stuff immediately, and I get that. We try to adhere to the public as much as we can, so people want action reports, people want court records, people want, all kinds of information that we're legally obligated to provide. And just having an extra person then on Fridays would help out tremendously. My court officer also has every 3rd Friday off, and they can work together 2 Fridays that they're together, so they can coordinate stuff, so it's just, this is obviously helpful. In the past, Andrew gave me a student to help out over the summer, and that helped us get rid of a lot of old records. So we got caught up with a lot of things. It's just, I got to make a decision, put somebody on the road or take them off the road and get these things done. I prefer to keep somebody on the road and have somebody come in that can do those duties.
So this is primarily 8 hours on a Friday is what you're doing? 8 hours.
Yes, sir. I'm flexible if they want to come in on a Saturday, as long as the records requests were getting done. It's not so much the Friday, but Friday was what I was thinking. That's great. Because I've got somebody out normally every 3rd Friday.
Yeah.
Cool. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Chief, you're all set. Let us know when you fill the position, if you would.
I will say.
Thank you much. And please give our best to the force,
I will.
because I know they're all having a blast.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.
Still 5 minutes ahead of schedule. Izzy, how would you feel about giving us your report? It's all about efficiency time. Just going through
Sweet.
holiday.
All right. So BayPath would like to welcome Trevor Short as our new 10th grade guidance counselor. Mr. Short says that he is committed to supporting families and enhancing the class of 2024's high school experience as much as possible. Report cards were sent out last Friday, November 19th, and Parents' Night Conference was held tonight over Zoom from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. On Tuesday, November 16th, the senior class elected 2 student representatives, one of them happening to be myself, and the other being May M. Sirenon, to participate in a mock debate replicating activities of the general court. Student Government Day is usually held at the Mass State House. However, this year, the day will be held via Zoom for safety and accessibility reasons due to the pandemic. Our Minutemen football team will be playing their Thanksgiving Day game away at Oxford at 10 a.m. So good luck, boys. Tryouts for boys and girls basketball are happening after Thanksgiving break. So good luck to all those who try out. For academics and extracurriculars, the NHS food drive is extending its donations into the month of December. The shop with the most amount of donations wins a prize, so everyone go donate. AP dues need to be paid ASAP. Dues can be paid through AP Classroom through the College Board account. BayPath Drama Club is hosting their annual talent show on December 15th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. and auditions will be held on November 30th and December 1st from 2:30 to 3:30 in room 116. Signups can be accessed in the cafeteria. That's all.
Cool, thanks. Susan. Certainly a lot going on.
Very good.
And congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
My political career started literally 30 years ago on Student Government Day. So
Oh, really?
yeah, I was with Representative Peters when I was a senior at Shepherd Hill.
Oh, awesome.
So you can blame him and the school for me being here.
Mine still hasn't started.
All right, we still have 4 minutes.
Are we on time for 6:45?
Well, that's a couple minutes fast. Andrew, anything in the TA report? You wanna
Let's see, particularly, oh, I can, let you guys know one change is that we will be open tomorrow.
Yes.
So,
Good.
let's see, and then.
No, you mean, yeah, I'm sorry, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, the town hall will
Yes.
be open to the public. So we have made that change to the schedule where we had discussed flexing staff and stay open for additional hours.
Thursday holiday.
Around holidays. It's on the back of the.
Yeah, where's our computers? Where's?
Yeah, it's a really long report. So start next week, we will be launching the new online permitting software system on the town website. So it should make it a lot easier for people to be able to do stuff remotely and get their permits as soon as they are approved, rather than having to come in here and say do the march around town hall. So we, especially over the last 6 months, we've made some big strides in trying to improve that process. So it's just the next iteration.
We get something from the folks at home that let's all move our mics a little closer. Pat, we got you. All right, any questions for Andrew about anything going on? No, well, kind of. We run quick meeting, that's why it's over. Okay, actually, I think we are now on time for the American Rescue Plan Act. Again, what we wanted to do for those folks at home was, I know we've had discussions over the past couple meetings, but we want to give the opportunity for those either online or in the audience to give any additional feedback on what we presented last time, which I was a big fan of. Andrew, I know we have, looks like we have at least one raised hand. So before I turn it over to the board, Peter, anything you want to add before?
No, yeah, I'm just here to answer questions if any come off the call.
Thank you.
The comment that came in.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, we're yelling at you, Bill. Speak up.
It
Yeah,
does.
it's probably me. I've already heard it enough for the town meeting.
We both said so. All right, so again, it's officially 6:45. Superintendent Boyd here to answer any questions. Planning Board Member Smith making a triumphant entrance, which always makes me happy. And any questions from those watching at home? If you're on Facebook, we can't see it, so please go into Zoom real quick. Unless we look real quick on Facebook. And we have a phone. And apparently the audio is horrible tonight, so yes, we will work on it. Technology. Actually, we're not, Drew, are we actually on, out on Facebook?
It's on YouTube.
Oh, okay, so we're on YouTube, so we're actually not on Facebook anyway, so we don't have to worry about it. So last call from anyone in the audience or anyone online before I turn it over, Zoom, before I turn it over to the board for additional discussion. All right, board members, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair,
Please, David.
my only question since Pete here is, there is additional monies. Is the request for water sewer, is that adequate? Because obviously we have extra monies and we will allocate that. But if you needed, this is a good time to mention.
Well, I think in talking with Andrew, we did have some money set aside for future capital projects, but I think it's better that we wait until this engineering study is done to identify and prioritize what the next steps will be before we assign additional money to it. And with the additional funding coming down the road, there may be more separate funding from this in the future to offset some of those costs as well. So again, for now, I appreciate the initial, I think it's $82,000 to get that study rolling. And again, as I'm talking to Andrew today, it's important that we get that study going. So as future growth come into town, we're comfortable saying, yes, we can accept your additional capacity. We're ready to grow as the town continues to grow. So I think, again, this initial great start. And once we get that done, we'll definitely be back in front of you with a priority of hopefully 2 or 3 projects, real costs associated with them, and then see what's available and fight for it then. Great, thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
No, Peter, if you don't mind, I'd heard where do we stand on the town of Wells? Have we?
For the
down off
public water supply well?
Buffingville, where we're doing the testing, because I constantly get questions about that, and I don't always know the answer.
So down at Buffinville, we went through site plan approval through the planning board to actually plan out the site and see what it would take to get the access road in and get the property ready to drill the wells. Now, part of the reason we went that far, we actually went out to bid. I think we received maybe 18 bids ranging from 1.2 million to 3.4 million to do the work. After getting that price back, the reason we went out to bid is we're gonna have 40,000 cubic yards of excess material there. We're hoping we'd hit the right contractor who has a need for that material, and the cost to install the access road would be worth it for us to invest the money. But at this point, for the Water and Sewer Commission looked at it, reviewed it, and said to invest 1.4 million now, when it's gonna cost another 12 to 14 million to get that water, to develop the site and get that water to our current infrastructure, didn't make a lot of sense. So right now it's there. It's kind of, I think the project is wrapped up. It's neat. It's ready to go whenever the town's ready to go. And whenever there's enough funding to make it worth our while to do so. We know there's a certain amount of water there, whether it happens next year, 2 years, 10 years, whenever it's there, it's ours and it's ready to be developed.
But the overall,
For now,
what made you pump the brakes was the 12 to 14 million dollars, and
yeah, it didn't make sense. Again, we've been able to do a
No.
lot of this with funding from the state, luckily. So we spent maybe 500,000 to get to this point, but it's all been grant funding from the state. We did spend some of our own money to purchase the property, which is there and ours. But to take that next step and spend 1.4 million when you're not ready to spend the rest, or 10 to 12 to 14 million, it didn't make a lot of sense at this time.
Okay, it's somewhat related. I'm actually going to invite you and the Water Sewer Commissioners in, if you would like, in the spring to kind of give like a water sewer 101. Because I think there's a lot of people who don't really know what we have versus where we're going.
Sure.
So just something to think about. I mean, obviously, I'll work with your team to figure out, if they even want to do it, but I just want to extend the invite.
Either way, no, I think they'll be interested in that. I think it's a great way to just, again, keep the information flowing and keep that shared, so.
Cool.
yeah, and Peter, thank you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but it's constant questions that we're hearing from people.
Yeah, and again, we talk about it all the time in our meetings, and again, if you don't watch or we don't, we have the all boards and committee meeting, but I think again, to come back here in the spring and update on everything that's going on, I think it'd be good.
Cool. Good.
Thank you. Thanks, Peter.
Cool. All right, so to be officious, unless there are any other questions from the audience or online, we could close the public hearing.
Some
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Any other discussion? At least on that. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is officially closed, so now we can entertain motions on the actual plan itself.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the plan as presented by
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Thanks, Vice Chair Vidlac. Any further discussion? The only thing I would probably say is, Andrew, thank you for being receptive to the selectmen's feedback, especially on EDC. But I do love your innovative approach to the overall grant process. So I thought that was really, really good. So again, very well done. I appreciate it. All right, so all those in favor? Opposed? That is unanimous. We're all set, and we still have that buffer that we can always allocate later on as, or that I should say we will allocate later on prior to it going down. All right, so we have 5 minutes, guys. I don't want to start. Anybody have anything that we can talk around legally?
If you just go up there and you move the.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
If you can move the hand, yeah, I can do this, I'll do that.
I know. And at least a follow-up to
Stop the
this.
video when you do
uh,
that.
you know,
Drew, you can do the computer clock.
I was related to ARPA. Today, actually, yeah, today I can finally just close out our CARES Act reporting. So we did come, relatively close to using up those funds. I believe we've left about $150,000 on the table. But of the $1.2 million that was appropriate under CARES, but in that the last kind of, since they eliminated the declaration of emergency, they made it very difficult to use that money because they saw that ARPA had passed. State was really trying to claw back on some of the funds, and unless you could specifically tie it to COVID, they didn't want to give you give you that money. So we really kind of utilized as much as we possibly could. But thankfully, those reports are now finalized. We can now move on to ARPA.
Well done.
Very good.
Going under sub-item 7 under old business. Anyone have any old business that they want to bring up?
Town administrator's report.
You already did.
Wow, short.
It's all.
I extended it as long as
Yeah.
I'm like, I thought there's more. Okay.
Actually, in all seriousness, so I know our next regular scheduled meeting is December 14th. I also recognize that for many of us, it is the holiday season. I just want to make sure, I'm just throwing a floater to see, does the 14th still work, or would the board prefer a different day?
I may have a conflict,
Cool. All right. Outside of that, or we'll probably.
but I'm giving you a heads up now.
Which I appreciate. Andrew, is there anything major coming up that you know about? I know we're talking potentially police stuff.
At least that's the one thing that I can think of off the top of my head. I know we were talking about bringing in the Board of Health to discuss School and Cemetery Road, where that stands after their meeting with the DEP, and then also discussing the plan of action as to how we want to proceed with the capping of the Old Town landfill, kind of like that. Who's going to be the lead in that process? So that was going to be keyed up for the next. Looking to key that up for the next meeting.
So David, as it comes closer, depending upon your plans, we can talk through like what you might see we can bump versus hold, et cetera. We'll just figure it out.
If there's a conflict, we can always, if it's okay, just move the police contract to the 1st of January, only a few weeks.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's why I say I'm sure we can work something like that. Which again, I am assuming we're only doing one meeting in December, not that I don't like holiday. So I was thinking the 14th, and then we just go right back or in January, unless obviously we need to, then we can call, something that last week. Yeah. As you can tell, I'm just trying to kill time at this point. I got nothing. All right, you know what? Everybody take 5 minutes. Hey, Drew, we're taking a 5-minute break.
Okay.
We are good.
Hey, Drew, we're back on.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, folks, we are back, and I'm gonna say close enough. Now, tonight, we're having an official, yet another official public meeting. I'm gonna read this one. The Charlton Board of Selectmen will hold a tax classification public hearing in the Selectmen's Meeting Room, 37 Main Street, Charlton, via Zoom, on Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021, 7 p.m. The purpose of the hearing is to determine whether different or uniform rates of taxation be applied to the various classifications of real property. The Board of Assessors will be available at the hearing to answer any questions that you may have. Input from taxpayers will also be welcome at the hearing. That is a fancy way of saying we're discussing whether we're going to continue with a single tax rate, or we're going to a split, and are we doing additional exemptions? So the public hearing is officially open. Andrew, we know who, can we tell if we have anyone on?
Let's see. Well, Zoom class members.
Oh, well, there you go. All right then. You know, Kathy, we're just gonna go with you. You wanna come on up?
Sure.
Kathy, apparently we're having terrible audio tonight, through no fault of Drew.
Okay.
But so if you just want to speak to the mic real close to kind of
Okay.
explain why we're here and what your thoughts are along with the Board of Assessors.
Okay, we are here to do the tax classification hearing. You've all received your packets, I imagine. Is it, I need it closer?
Sorry, thank you.
Okay, you've all received your
There you
packets.
go.
Okay, does anybody have any questions before we begin? No? Okay, so you'll see the split is a little bit different this year. We have a little bit more CIP, commercial, industrial, and personal property than we did. So now we're at 78% residential and 22 with the rest. Following through page by page, it was just a breakdown of what last year's levy limit is, the increase, the new growth. We had a lot of new growth this year at $2.5 million. That was largely due to two cases. One was Millennium. The way the special legislation was with Millennium, we were able to count that as new growth because there were certain pockets that that money with the pilot had to go into. And so we had to get permission, but we were able to count that as growth. And the second was the MCI, which was the facility on North Side Road, was centrally valued by the state. And that central valuation ended up at $68 million. So that new growth really largely impacted the $2.5 million. If you minus those two out, we're back down to the 600,000 range, which is what we are normally every year. So it's not something that we anticipate having again, although as Amazon gets built, we'll obviously have some growth from that as well. So we're in a good situation as far as growth goes. So the single family assessment increased from 289 to 345. And going with a single tax rate, which we'll get to if we do, that would change the average tax bill from 43.48 to 45.84. About $236. There's about 109 communities that split the rate last year. They're still deciding this year, so I don't have those final numbers, but last year, it's only about a third of the communities that do split the rate. The residential exemption, only about 15 communities. The small commercial, even less, and open space, they're really, nobody does that because you have the chapter land. So we do eventually need to take a vote on those three, but in here also is the historical tax rates, the trend, classification considerations, and then there's a page with some blue on it that shows, because this might be something in the future that we do consider as far as splitting the rates, I did some examples. You can go up to 50%. I don't know if anybody read over the weekend, but Hadley did split their rate for the first time this year, and they just did 7%. So it's a very modest, small shift. And so you can do that. You know, these are just examples that I gave you 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, but you can do 4 or 5 or 6% or 15. You can go anywhere in between. But this would show you that if we did shift the rate even 10%, the single rate, if we adopt a single rate, it's $13.28 this year. So last year we're at $15.01. So that would be a good drop to get down to $13.28 with a single rate. If we shifted it 10%, that would change it to $12.92, but that would increase the CIP to $14.61. So those numbers would just show you, if you did shift it 10%, instead of the drop, the increase of $230 $136 currently with the single rate, it would increase it $112. If you shifted it 20%, it would actually decrease the average tax bill by $13. So just so you have in your mind some scenarios for the future to contemplate. Have the community comparison. And then the tax rate recap. We have an excess levy capacity of about $3,000. And so if we're ready to vote, we can go through the votes.
Mr. Chair. I would move to adopt a single tax rate.
One quick thing though, just procedurally, I want to see if there's anyone else in the audience or online that has questions. Jim, John? Good. Anyone online? Not see anybody. So what I would first recommend or request on the board is that we close the public hearing. Oh, hold on. Is Pat, the report is available on the Board of Selectmen's page under our agenda packet for the night. I'm referencing Pat, who just asked me the question, but anyone can obviously go look at it offline.
So moved on it.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Well, we have to do all the votes. Did you do all the votes?
I'm gonna do that. We can do those after we close the
After
public
you
hearing.
close the public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So any other discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is unanimous. Now let's talk official actions.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Singer,
I move to adopt a single tax rate.
do I have a second for discussion?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
A little bit of discussion. I mean, I don't think, I mean, we're looking at the CARES Act and all the other things for small business, medium, large size business that they're trying to rejuvenate, and everybody's gone through a COVID crisis and pandemic. I think it's now's not the right time to adopt the double tax rate. I think just let them catch up a little bit. Who knows where we'll be 2 years from now, you know, but that's my view.
I'll say personally, I've never been a fan of a dual tax rate, and a lot of towns who adopt them try to find themselves trying to get back to a single rate, but once those taxes get cut, it's really hard to say, well, we're going to increase it now. The problem with that is for those folks at home is that obviously you're charging businesses more to locate or expand in your town. Therefore, it's kind of a vicious feedback cycle of, well, yes, we cut taxes for the residents because we had a larger commercial base, but then what happens is that, quite frankly, other towns poach the businesses away because they have a single tax rate. So whereas it seems like, oh, it's really always great to lower taxes on the residents, which generally speaking, I think is a good idea. The right way to do that is via the budget, in my opinion, and not necessarily via true taxation.
I agree.
So-
And just so, and for Kathleen, and so that people understand at home, so while our property tax rate, if we go to a single tax rate, dropped from 1501 to 1328 is what's proposed right now.
That's correct, yes.
Tax rate almost dropped $1.80 per thousand.
So there is a drop, and when people hear us talk about single versus split tax rate, that's what we're referring to.
Correct. However, I think we'd all like to take great pride in saying, hey, we're lowering the tax rate. Here's the biggest shell game.
Sure.
No, for those at home, because I see this all the time, that we have such an excellent tax rate. And honestly, we do.
Yes.
The inverse, though, is that our property values are relatively high. So every time that we do community comparisons, for example, I think if you look at Provincetown, their tax rate is ridiculously low because their property values are through the roof.
Yeah.
So you really have to take a look at average tax bill. So everyone knows, yes, we are lowering the tax rate, but as Kathy mentioned, your bill is still going to go up a little bit because of the appraised value. Again,
Reevaluate the value now.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. It
It's a
just-
lot better.
it just-
Stop painting your house.
Yeah,
That would be the-
I hear this a lot every year from, well, I don't understand how this works. You have to take both variables into consideration. If you have an incredibly high appraised value, you can obviously have a lower tax rate. And the inverse is also true. So I just don't want to have anyone yell at us later to say, hey, wait a minute, the tax rate went down. Why did it go up? Why? I just told you. So, but again, who knows if I'll be here in 6 months. So, hey, I'm trying to be fully transparent.
No, it's a good explanation.
But anyway, I think we had
We had a motion and a second for
Thank you.
the single tax rate.
All right, any further discussion? I think that was good. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Kathy, thank you on that one. Next up is a small commercial exemption.
Mr. Chair,
Please do.
shame on me. But I should have said this for the single packet, but I think I already knew what it was from the conversation, but for those watching, can we ask the assessor's recommendation on the small commercial exemption?
Keep it coming, Kathy, one at a time.
Yep, absolutely. So that is something that you really have to plan for in advance. It has to be a business that has less than 10 employees and has to be valued under $1 million and certified at the state level. So it's something you'd almost want to plan for at least a year in advance to try to, find out who those businesses are. You have to almost visit each one to make sure that they meet the qualifications and they get approved at the state level.
So the recommendation is not to.
Correct.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Next up, Kathy, the residential exemption.
Yes, so that is something that you see down the Cape a lot.
Exactly.
It's where you have a lot of second homes. They might choose to have a residential exemption, but not something the Board of Assessors recommends here.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. And last but not least, the open space discount.
Open space, yeah, and so we do offer chapter 61, 61A, and 61B to people that are looking for a reduction for vacant land. So not recommended for open space.
So moved.
Second.
Guess I'm rolling tonight. Any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Ms. Stanley, thank you, the Board of
Okay,
Assessors, for
thank
everything
you
you
so
do.
much.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys, so have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank
You
you.
as well.
Happy
You
Thanksgiving.
as well. For the record, we're at 7:09 and we just had a full agenda.
Also shorter.
I'm taking credit for it. Do we have any other discussion about anything that we want to talk about, except for wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving?
Oh, you just took my thunder.
That's right. So as I wait patiently for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, we'd like to wish everyone in Charlton a wonderful and happy and safe Thanksgiving, and I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
No, I get Vice Chairman Zucker, I'll show Rachel. Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.